When I walked into my house, she was already there, hands on my brand new microwave like she owned the place. Not a hint of guilt, not even a flinch. 3 days after closing on my dream home, I was standing in my own kitchen being accused of trespassing, and 10 minutes later I had a gun pointed at me because she called 911 and said I was attacking her. I'm Derek McMichael, 35, software engineer, first-time homeowner in a quiet HOA neighborhood called Sunset Meadows. At least that's what the realtor called it. I called it peaceful until I met Karen Hernandez, self-appointed queen of Maple Drive, self-proclaimed protector of our community. That afternoon, I came home still in my work suit, door slightly ajar. Inside, this older white lady in blinding orange pants clutching my microwave. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Is this what your people do? Just walk into good Christian homes and take over?" I thought she was confused, maybe lost. I told her calmly, "Ma'am, this is my house. I just bought it." She laughed and said, "Don't be ridiculous. This house is empty. I'm with the neighborhood watch. I'm here to secure the property." Secure the property by stealing my appliances. I tried to reason with her, but she cut me off, her face twisting into mock fear. "You're threatening me," she screamed and dialed 911 before I could say another word. I stood there frozen, realizing exactly what narrative she was spinning. Minutes later, 2 cops burst through my door. No knock, no question. One hand already resting on his gun. "Sir, put your hands where I can see them." I did. Slowly. I told them I owned the house, my name was on the deed, my paperwork was in my briefcase by the door. The older officer looked bored. The younger one looked like he was waiting for an excuse. The woman, meanwhile, turned on her tears. He broke in. "He scared me." They believed her. Of course they did. I stood on my own lawn while they comforted her. When I finally got them to check my documents, the older cop sighed, handed them back and said, "Looks like he owns the place. Ma'am, you made a mistake. Let's all just calm down." A mistake. She'd broken in, tried to steal from me, lied to the police, and they called it a misunderstanding. She walked home free with that smug little smirk that said, "You don't belong here." That night, I sat on the floor of my empty living room staring at the blank walls, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life buying this house. I wanted to let it go, I really did. But anger has a way of keeping you awake. Then, I remembered something, a tiny security camera I'd tested on the mantelpiece. I rushed to check it. A faint blue light blinked back. It was recording. My hands shook as I opened the footage on my phone. There she was, walking straight through my front door, scanning the room, heading to the kitchen. Her words, her tone, every racist syllable, crystal clear. Even her fake 911 call. It caught the cops too, the way they treated me like the suspect. The entire nightmare perfectly recorded. I whispered to the screen, "I got you." The next morning, I brought the footage to the police. They took the drive, promised to look into it. Weeks passed, nothing. My calls went unanswered. I started digging and learned she'd lived here 30 years and her son was a police detective in the next town over. Suddenly, everything made sense. The silence, the delays, the polite indifference. So I found my own help, a retired cop turned private investigator named Miles. He watched the footage, whistled, and said, "That's not just trespassing. That's hate with a badge of arrogance." He started digging. Meanwhile, things got worse. Anonymous complaints started arriving, grass too long, trash bins, misplaced noise after hours. Petty, constant harassment. She was weaponizing the HOA using bureaucracy like bullets. Then came the restraining order. I opened my door one night to a sheriff serving papers claiming I was stalking her. I laughed at first until I saw the court date. She was taking the fight to me and I was running out of breath. In court, she played the perfect victim, Pearl's cardigan, trembling voice. Said I was intimidating, that she feared for her life. Her son sat behind her, glaring at me. My lawyer tried to submit the video, but the judge ruled it irrelevant to the restraining order. Her lies stood. The order was granted. 50 feet. I couldn't even walk past her mailbox without risking arrest. That was the lowest point. I drove home in silence, felt the weight of defeat pressing down until it hurt to breathe. Maybe I should sell the house. Start over, but then I remembered that smirk, the one she gave me when she dropped the microwave. That smirk became fuel. If the system wouldn't listen, the world would. I called my cousin Jamal, a media strategist who fights police misconduct cases. I sent him the footage. He said, "This is the whole damn system in 3 minutes." He cut it into a tight, brutal clip and posted it through activist channels. The caption read, "This man was arrested in his own home. Watch what really happened." By noon the next day, the internet was on fire. Millions of views. News anchors hashtags outrage. My name was trending. The police department shut down their comment section. 48 hours later, the DA called. They had reopened the case. Charges were filed breaking and entering attempted theft and false reporting. For a moment, I thought justice was finally happening. Then, the smear campaign started. An article appeared online calling me a failed businessman, quoting an old partner who claimed I was dishonest. It was pure fiction, but it spread. And I recognized the fingerprints her son. Detective Hernandez. The same week I got notice of a lawsuit filed by that same ex-partner Kevin accusing me of fraud. I knew Kevin couldn't afford the high-priced lawyers listed on the papers. Someone was bankrolling him. It was the detective. He was trying to crush me under legal bills. 2 cases at once, endless paperwork, sleepless nights. I almost broke. Then Miles called. "You're going to want to see this." At our usual coffee shop, he slid a folder across the table. Inside, photos of Detective Hernandez meeting Kevin 2 weeks before the lawsuit was filed, and a report detailing the detective's past 3 internal affairs investigations, 1 for witness tampering. My hands trembled as I looked at the evidence. That photo was my lifeline. We took it to the district attorney's public integrity office. Within days, a grand jury was convened. Kevin cracked first. He admitted the detective had orchestrated the lawsuit to intimidate me into dropping my complaint. The next morning, the detective was arrested, charged with conspiracy and obstruction of justice. The news was everywhere. The same channels that once ignored my story now plastered his mugshot across the screen. The cop who'd protected his criminal mother was now the criminal himself. When her trial finally came, Karen looked small, almost fragile without her son's shadow behind her. But the jury saw the video. They saw her words, her lies, the way she'd used my skin color as a weapon. The verdict came fast guilty on all counts. I stood in that courtroom, the same man who'd once stood on his lawn with his hands raised and listened as the judge read her sentence. 3 years probation, a heavy fine, and a permanent restraining order keeping her 500 feet away from me forever. Her son lost his badge, his pension, his power. The moment the gavel hit, I didn't feel triumph, just silence. A heavy, exhausted silence. I had spent more than a year fighting to prove something that should have been obvious from day one, that I belonged in my own house. I walked outside, breathed in the cold air, and looked down Maple Drive. The world felt strangely still. The flashing lights, the headlines, the anger all fading behind me. What stayed was the lesson carved deep and permanent. Justice doesn't always come from the system. Sometimes you have to drag it out into the light yourself.